I always like to talk about vendor events because when I first bought my premium starter kit back in 2015, I had zero intention of doing the business. And a lot of people bought their premium starter kits because they wanted all of the oils and the goodness of Young Living with zero intention of doing the business. But for me, when I saw how it impacted my health and my family's health, and it completely did a 360 for me in life, I was like, everybody needs to know about these things. So the business kind of chose me. And maybe you're in that place right now where you're like, I love the products, but do I really want the business side? But if you are seeing the benefits, don't you want your friends to know the benefits? It
Right.
doesn't have to be an all or nothing. That's what I love about this business model with Young Living. Now, I'm a teacher by trade, and my day job is I'm just yapping it up with 8-year-olds. So for me, a very natural progression once I decided to do the business was to do vendor events. I like to talk. I like to talk to people. So that was an easy go for me. I started out big. I contacted my local farmers market and said, "Hey, would you let a direct sales company come in there and like have a booth?" And I said, "I'm local. I live a few blocks away." And they were like, "Sure." And I was committed to an entire summer of a farmers market. This is going to be my 6th year at the market, and I love it. And I also do local craft fairs. And Kathy is going to jump in here in a minute and talk about hers as well. But a few things I want you to know about, and then Kathy and I are going to kind of ping pong back and forth. But don't spend a ton of money to do a vendor event.
Mhm.
That's the big one, friends. Do not put out $100 for an event if you don't think you're going to get that money back. The point of a vendor event is to get you and your product out there so people learn about Young Living and you can have a way to meet new people and follow up with them. But this does not have to be a big, expensive venture. Kathy, would you like to jump in and tell us what kind of events you have done and will be doing? I think you're muted, hon.
Okay. All right. Similar to Sherry, I like to talk to people. And I didn't know that I was going to delve into the vendor event um, type of venues. I was listening to some calls, business calls, and where there were some people doing vendor events. And I happened to be at Tractor Supply, of all things. And they were having a vendor event. And so I said, oh, I I'll have a vendor event. So I mean, I'll do a table. And so I signed up right there at the store, and they had the whole front of the farm of the Tractor Supply was a bunch of vendors. And so that was my first vendor event. And I agree with Sherry wholeheartedly. Don't invest a lot of money to pay for a vendor spot. Tractor Supply was free. The ones I've done have been free. I did spend on one, and that was a whole different experience. And I don't want to repeat that. But I kept it very, very simple. My setup was simple. I took the premium starter kit. I really was new. I didn't know what I was doing really. I hadn't even taught a class, but I just was confident and passionate about what oils had done for me. My journey started with more honing in on emotions and
Yeah.
stress and anxiety. So I just had experienced such great things. I was drawn to just share it with everybody. And I didn't, I was scared, but I felt confident in what I was saying. And so that's how I got started.
I love it. Thanks, Kathy. So, a couple of things that we wanted to talk about. Tracy, would you mind popping up the picture of my display? I just wanted to show you a sample of mine, and then we're going to show you Kathy's in a little bit. Don't spend a ton even on your display. you can see I had two little stands that were actually holding my diffusers from home. So I kind of like just borrow them for the day. I throw them in my bag. If you have an Aria, bring an Aria because everybody wants it. It draws people over. They're like, oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It is amazing. It gets them over to start the conversations. I'm like, oh, you have good taste. That's our Cadillac. Of course you like that one. So always engage people. Don't sit down. That's my biggest first tip. Don't sit on a chair behind your table.
Yeah.
Who's going to talk to you? But if you have diffusers, bring them. You don't have to bring them all. I have been doing this a while, so I like to bring all the things. If you only have a premium starter kit, you bring your premium starter kit. If you have a few Thieves products, bring them. But I want you to take a look at my setup here. I have the wooden crate, and underneath where you see the black tablecloth, those are more wooden crates. I just made myself elevation. I carry all my stuff in the wooden crate, and that's my base to make it higher.
Yeah.
I have signs with QR codes. This is what you want people. You want people to be able to scan.
Yeah.
You can make these for free. These are awesome. Just Google free QR code. You
Yeah.
create, if you've already been learning, you've seen on our other business calls about how to create a deep link. So
Yeah.
you can create a deep link with this and it's going to be connected to you. So if someone scans, this was for the Love of Lemons from another vendor event I sadly don't have a picture of. I had this whole kit out. They could scan it. It took them right to my page. You can see how I collect information. I use Project Broadcast. So if you are someone that's been doing the business and you are using a texting service, I have them text me a keyword and I was giving them a free aromatherapy inhaler. It cost me pennies. I was giving them a Pollen Buster LLP aromatherapy inhaler, but they texted me that keyword. I now have their information so I can
Yeah.
follow up with them. If
Right.
you don't use a texting service, get their email, put it on a list, sign up for my raffle, but you need to get their information so that after they walk away from your table, you can follow up with them via email, phone call, text, whatever is your system, your preferred communication method that you are most comfortable with. None of this cost me a lot of money. It was little racks and containers I have around my home, but you
Yeah.
want to be able to have a way to get their information so you can go back and be like, Susie, it was so great chatting with you today about the Thieves Laundry Soap and Cleaner. I would love to be able to meet with you, and you need to be able to have a way to do that. Kathy, can you show Kathy's now as well? Kathy, can you talk about your setup?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so that's my friend Linda Tucker. She's a brand partner, and this is at a salon. This was done a few weeks ago. Post-COVID, vendor events are very different in the approach that people have toward wanting more natural solutions, and
Right.
really the desire to have for people to be more receptive to having vendor events. I get my hair done at this salon, and the gal was going to have what's called Girls Night Out. And so she asked me if I would do it, and I said, sure. So in this setup, I've got a premium starter kit over, you can see to the left of the banner on the wall. That's some shelves, and I brought a feelings kit, and the premium starter kit is on that shelf as well. I've got some other oils here, and in the front, I do the same thing as Sherry, where I switch up the elevations. I have some little things that I brought from home, a basket tray, my laundry things. I've got wash, dry, and fold, and some Thieves in there. I have reference books that I usually bring, some reference materials. And if anybody asks me questions, I go straight to the guide because I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. And I want this
Right.
to be duplicatable,
Right.
so that anybody that's looking at this can do this without breaking the bank. And it is
Right.
everything that I already have. I have the Aria over there. I've got the Feather and the Sweet Aroma. And then I have some pamphlets on one of the risers that's sitting on the floor. And then I gave out, it was near Easter, I gave out some chocolate Easter eggs candy. That's in one of those baskets there. And so I've just got the basics and the curiosity. I do something to make people curious, like they were interested in looking at, I had some packages that had Nixia red in them and a dryer ball, and they were interested in that. I had some diffuser necklaces. Now, I wasn't being compliant here. I learned where I shouldn't have things that aren't offered by Young Living sitting on my Young Living table because they are not sold by Young Living. So I can have that, but it has to be set on the side. But in this event, it was a small event and I didn't know, and I was, I do now. So as you can see, this is a small area, but you don't need to crowd up your table. You want to have something where they can approach easily and simply. I usually give a little something away, like what Sherry was talking about. I also get their information. I use a piece of paper. It has a thing for them to check off what their primary wellness goals are, so to speak, whether it's skin, digestion, emotions, stuff like that. And then I make notes on the back. I'll say, okay, this was a school teacher. She was from Temecula. And I'll give a little description so that when I go to talk to them and follow up, I can say, oh, we met at the salon and blah, blah, blah. And it makes it much more personal. And I follow up pretty quick after the event, and a lot follow up. It's not going to take one call, most likely. But I think I might have said this. I give business cards too. And I also exchange, I ask about their social media. Are you on Instagram? Let's follow each other. That's one way to get some information. Are you on Facebook? Let's friend each other. And I give them an incentive. I always have a class that I am signing somebody up for. I have a schedule of a few dates. Okay. And we're going to have this class. I'm going to have this class. You want to come to it. And, that's a way to get an easy type of a follow-up situation going on. I've always got that in mind. And I like to talk to the other vendors as well and get more vendor opportunities from them. Where do you do your vendor events? Maybe they could, have some oils coming in there. And I've also sold oils to other vendors. So that is what kind of is working for me. And I have flip kits there. I have sold kits on site. The free smells, I'll put down, I have some oils, some empty bottles. Come and get a smell of oil for free, people, anything to get them started. But boy, I'll tell you, the conversations about natural living, natural options, chemical-free were way more easy to have. People were looking for that. And so it's actually, I don't know, it's a more positive atmosphere. I'm going to do another class at that salon. She has an outside deck. I'm going to set up on her deck out there, kind of have like a pop-up.
Yeah.
So it's a really nice community there. So there's all types of different options for doing a vendor event. If the sky's the limit, you're only limited by your own creativity. And so, I'm really looking at pop-ups. I'm going to get into Temecula come heck or high water. That's going to be my stomping grounds. And I'm also doing some things down in San Diego. So,
I love that.
It's just a matter of keep at it. So that's what I've got to share.
So I love that Kathy talked about how she had flip kits. That's not necessary. I like to have a flip kit there because there have been many, many, many times where I've been able to sell a flip kit. And if you don't know what that is, it means you have one of the starter kits on hand and you sign them up on the spot. And then what I choose to do is I say, well, you can take this home. And when they place their order, all they do is put the shipping address as your own. So that's something if you're comfortable doing that, but you totally do not need a flip kit. But for those impulse buyers, it's always nice because I always
Yeah.
find some of those. It's like, it's like the stuff at the by the register when you're at the store, right? But a lot of people aren't comfortable or don't want to put the money out to have a flip kit. Totally not necessary. You can still sign them up on the spot the same way. Have a computer, your phone, a tablet, and you can still sign them up and give them a little gift or a thank you on the spot for ordering their starter kit or their products. But now Kathy did mention about how the necklaces are on her display, and I've been doing the vendor events a long time, and Young Living really wants us to not have things for sale unless it's oils that you're selling at retail price. But like the diffuser necklaces, and I do other things, you'll never see them in my pictures that I post on social media. But Tracy, can you go back up to my photo? And I don't even take photos of them. That's how like I am. But if you can see all the way on the side, like the little metal shelf on the side, that's actually
Yeah.
my shelf of products that I sell because I want to
Yeah.
recover my vendor event fee.
Right.
Just so I know that day I've done it. So some little things that I do, these are little wood flowers. The company is called Sola Wood Flowers. You get like 100 of these for like $50. And I hot glue them to a really cute wood clothespin. And
Yeah.
I make a 1 ounce spray bottle. Right now I'm doing Luscious Lemon because I'm obsessed with it. And I sell these for $10. They're buying this, they're getting the essential oil spray for free. Easy, but it's giving them a little car diffuser or something to put in their closet. Other things that I sell, other really good ideas. I buy bottles on Amazon, 16-ounce bottles. Now I have a Cricut, but you can buy designs on Etsy that you can just print on printable vinyl and just stick a label on here like Young Living has been doing with some of their bottles. I sell the bottle and then I give them as a gift a sample of, the pouches of the household cleaner because these are not
Yeah.
able to be sold individually, but they buy the bottle for $10 and this is their gift.
Right.
So that's how I like to do that. Diffuser necklaces are huge. Like room sprays as gifts. But there's so many different options that you can do that are going to get people engaged in wanting to come back. QR codes for me are totally the way now because if my husband, who does not do technology at all, could figure out QR codes during COVID, because everywhere, if we ever went out to eat, you had to like use your phone to see the menu. Everybody knows how to use a QR code now. It's just so easy because then it's created that link for them on their phones. And on my business card, if you are a person that does a business card, I even have my QR code on my business card now. So easy to do. And this actually goes to my MyYL site, but you don't have to have that. You can just create it with your member number directly to Young Living. It's your sharing QR code that you can get in the virtual office. But if you are a new brand partner, remember you get that website myYL.com free for 3 months once you sign up.
True.
So take advantage of that and use it and start playing around with it because it's really fun. Kathy also mentioned about having a list of your classes available. Now, this picture that you're seeing of mine was back in March. So I didn't have a photo because I'm teaching right now. It's really hard for me to do in person. So all of my classes are virtual, but on my website is the list of all of my upcoming virtual classes. So they scan this, it takes into my website and they can see my events. But at my farmer's market, I do have a full size sheet of paper in a clear lucite frame, similar to these, but larger. And it will have all my upcoming classes that are in person at my local library, which is a block away from where our farmer's market is. So you want to give people options of where can I come and learn more? Because I just had the coolest conversation with you about thieves, but I need to go and learn more because I don't know if I'm ready. So you want to give them all the chances to come back and meet with you and talk to you, and for you to be able to follow up with them in whatever way that you prefer. But was there any other questions or things people are wondering about vendor events? Yeah, the QR codes are really the bomb. Like, they have revolutionized my life. It's so easy to use the QR codes. Oh yes, Life Steps is another great place for some of the labels. Another free app, brand partners. Everyone should at least have the free version of Life Steps if you don't want to upgrade to the pro. It's amazing in there.
Sherry, I was just going to add,
Yeah.
I know you've been doing vendor events for a very, very long time, for years, before COVID, during COVID-ish, after COVID.
Yeah.
So I feel like you just have such great insight on this. And I think what's been so wonderful is like with each sort of change that happens, because it's just like with everything, you've kept pivoting. You pivot, 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 right? Like what worked, 3 or 4 years ago may kind of work now, but you're actually employing different things, right? Like you're doing more texting, you're doing the QR codes. I love what you said about recouping your cost, right? Because that is your time and you paid money to be at that vendor event. So I think that is so smart. But something that I don't know if everybody knows with this is, so when Sherry says she collects contact information, she doesn't just hold on to it. And I'm just telling you, as someone who does digital marketing and email marketing, is like, that's like my background, right? Sherry is so good about this. How often are you messaging them? Is it like once a week, a couple times a month?
So it's once a week for the first 4 weeks. If they don't respond, or if they'll be like, okay, thanks. And then if after 4 weeks, after they initially, because they're the ones that have reached out to me, they have filled out my contact, then I will do it at least once a month with like, hey, I have a class this Sunday. Or, oh, I know you missed this class I was having on thieves. If you're still interested, here's a replay of the video, which is what's really nice. We didn't have those pre-COVID. We weren't really doing these. So now I love that I can send them a replay of our 30-minute Zoom call and they can watch it if they couldn't make an in-person thing. So it's actually making it easier to be able to share the things, because on my team with Stacy Cook, we are doing Sunday night classes, 30-minute classes on topics. And we have, we're building our own library of us teaching them that I can like send out. So people are seeing me teaching the class. So it's been really great to be creating that bank of information. But always, I don't ever stop following up. Pre-COVID, I had met someone at my farmer's market and I would just email them once a month. 2 years later, they responded and bought a premium starter kit. 2 years. So don't give up on them. Don't give up.
Wait a minute, Sherry, you're like really blowing my mind right now. And I just want to put this out there. You guys, whether you've done vendor events or not, these classes, right, that we teach, these one-on-one classes, even, some of the other member event classes that we've done, this is like a gold mine of content for you. You could be sending that Summertime Essentials class that just happened, right, 30 minutes ago, to everyone that you've ever talked to, your fence sitters. Maybe you've had people at a one-on-one or an in-person, or people you've talked to in social media. Like, what does your follow-up game look like, right? Are you following up once a week like Sherry's doing after a vendor event? Are you at least doing it once or twice a month after that initial 4 weeks, right? What does your follow-up game look like? So Sherry, you're totally blowing my mind right now. And it really is, the fortune is in the follow-up. Like she said, 2 years later, right?
Yes.
That's definitely happened to me before as well. Use the content we already have, right? You don't have to keep sending the same message. Hey, by the way, send an oily tip. Life Steps is also like a plethora of information. Pull a diffuser recipe, pull a DIY. Here's a video that that our team just created. Like, you could be creating new content and sending to people. So hopefully this will inspire you guys to step up your follow-up game. But you're a perfect testimonial to that, Sherry. That's amazing.
Thank you. And I saw Robin ask the question, So it doesn't have to be a wild tablecloth because your products are going to let them know it's Young Living. Honestly, if you have your bottles of oil out, if you have Thieves, people will be like, oh, I've heard of that Thieves. They may not know Young Living. Thieves brings people in, honestly. And if you have the pump of hand sanitizer, let them try it. I'll be like, oh, you have to try this. And people are just obsessed when they try the Thieves hand sanitizer. Also, I don't know if Kathy mentioned this, but if you're having bottles out for them to smell, do not have any unopened bottles on your table because they will open them and ruin all your unopened bottles of oil. I take completely empty bottles, like my bottles are like 4 or 5 years old. And before an event, I will open it up and put like 3 drops of oil in there. And then when people are like, ooh, I'm like, oh, that's an empty bottle, by the way. Like, I want them to realize like how potent our oil is. I will add 3 drops of oil into an empty bottle and let them smell that because they're going to open up all your bottles otherwise. So don't take anything nice and pretty on your table that you don't want open because they will. I've had it happen. I learned it quickly.
Yes. Yeah. You know, one of the things that in talking with people, I've had so many people say, I bought Young Living like 5 years ago, but I never opened my kit. I never used my kit.
Drives me nuts.
I know. And, you know, one of the things that I really emphasize is what a great resource that we have for ongoing education. And that is not going to, I've reactivated people because of that, being able to, you know, even in a short period of time, get enough of a relationship where they know they're not going to be left hanging. And that we want them to open up their oils. And that's another type of follow-up that we have to do once they do purchase their oils. And that we do that. And, you know, over and over, I saw Sherry going, yes, over and over that happens where you meet people. And I send a lot of information. Well, I don't inundate, but I frequently send things to people I've met, as well as people that have purchased kits at a vendor event. And I'm going to be able to do one where I consistently go, like what Sherry's been doing, and be able to have those kind of relationships where you see someone over and over and over again.
And
But
it's huge. I have to tell you, Kathy, because last summer, there has been a woman I've talked to every summer. She'll be like, oh yeah, I have a kit. Oh yeah, but she would stop and talk. I would have the reference guide because she would have questions, and the same thing. I don't know the answers. I'm not a doctor. I pull out my reference guide. We look something up. Last year, she reactivated under me because of the education I was able to provide her.
yeah,
So if a farmer's market doesn't allow MLMs, then you might have to ask. I'm fortunate that mine has a huge variety of like direct sales and obviously fruits, vegetables. We have a butcher, we have a cheese guy. But some may not, like some only want like actual food products. But look for other venues. Craft fairs are a big one. Chiropractors' offices, health fairs. Look for health fairs. A lot of communities do those for like health and wellness fairs. Look at Eventbrite. Eventbrite has a lot of resources.
Yeah, we really do have to think outside the box, and like I do too. I'm sure Sherry does. I talk to other vendors. Where else do you do vendor events, and get some ideas from there? And I'm stalking Eventbrite, and you know, just network, just like anything else. Ask questions and keep. And it has taken me a long time to get into certain venues, but again, you just have to persist and be patient. Put your feelers out, and just like everything, it will come, and it's fun. I have a great time. I really have a great time. That's my thing.
I'm the same way, Kathy. And also, maybe you try a vendor event, and if it's not your thing, that's okay. Like
Mhm.
Tracy said at the beginning of this call, we all do the business in a different way, but don't be afraid to try one. And
Mhm.
don't be afraid that if you do one and maybe you didn't have 3 people buy a flip kit or sign up that day, it was a failure. Not true. As long as you have contact information and you can follow up, you were engaging people in conversations because they wanted to learn something, that's a
Mhm.
win. Because you
Mhm.
have just opened that door to helping them take the next step.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I was going to say is the way that you ladies are approaching this, and I think the way that it's very successful is, I think for someone who's just starting out, they may believe, right, I'm doing this vendor event to get kit sales, right, at the event. And if I don't get those kit sales, then this whole thing was a failure. And so I love the approach that you take where you could get a kit sale. That's for sure happened. Don't say you can't get a kit sale, right? Like, it's definitely happened, but really this is a prospect generator, right? You're getting interest, and the end goal, right, is to collect those prospects, to get their texts, to get their emails, right, to get them on a list so that you can then do the follow-up. So, that's sort of the end game, right, with these vendor events. Again, not to say that people don't want to get a flip kit on site, or may not buy one of the DIYs or other things that you're selling right on site, but really we want to collect their information. It's sort of a longer game, isn't it, Sherry?
Most definitely. I was just going to say, I would say 80% of my personally enrolled, if they weren't warm market, they're all prospects that I met at an event, honestly. And they are all like people that I consider good friends of mine, because you know what this oily community does. Once you're in the community, like everyone becomes family. People that I met at my farmer's market or at craft fairs, that is probably 80% of my personally enrolled over the years. Because even though I'm only doing it in the summer, I get enough contact information to keep the follow-up going. So it's amazing. Don't underestimate the value of people just giving you their information.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually a really good tip, right? You're a teacher, so the summer's the time that you have to be out there at the farmers markets to collect the prospect information so that you can offer these either in person or on virtual classes, right, throughout the year. So I want you to also think about this. Is there a time for you where you're like, oh my goodness, whether it's end of the school year, beginning of the school year, maybe it's the fall, maybe it's during tax season, whatever it's you're sort of doing, you have a busy season, but then you also have kind of a slower season. What if you did those vendor events during the slow season so that you can build up those prospects? I just think that's huge, and I love that. And the other thing that I wanted to add, you guys, is pretty much everything that we're doing is a longer game. Please tell me the last time you talked about a kit in like a couple of minutes and someone said, I want to buy it right now.
Yeah.
That's usually not the case on social media, in person, even a one-on-one. I mean, usually you're having to spend quite a bit of time, like even for an in-person class, at least 45 minutes, right? You're usually not like in a 5-minute period. So I just want to let you know, even with social media, it's a longer game, right? So this is different. It's just, instead of doing your vendor event, social media is kind of like an online vendor event. This is in person. So please, Sherry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut
I was
you
just
off.
going to say, no, not at all. But Stacy will tell you, I probably left her hanging for a week and a half. I went to her class and I wrote down a bunch of notes and was overwhelmed and came home and went, what? And I had to go home and research, and I messaged her and she messaged me. And then, obviously look where that landed. But I don't think, because sometimes those quick flip kit sales, to be honest, they tend to be the people that it's harder to keep engaged, because if they take it home, unless you've already built a relationship with them, they're the people that don't always come back for more information, because they're like, well, I got my kit, I have what I need. So it's actually almost better to have the information and to build that relationship, because those are the people that are going to want more products and want to learn more and are going to really adopt the Young Living lifestyle, not just wanting that bottle of lavender. So yeah, it really is a long game. And as we know, we're all still learning. As new products come out, we get excited about them. So it's definitely a long game that's worth worth it all.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm just full of questions because these are the things that people ask me all the time. If you were doing a vendor event, right? Like what, if you're just starting out, use what you have, but tell us what are the most popular things that people just go to. So let's say I've got thieves, I've got the starter kit, I've got like sort of different things. What is your suggestion to like, you know, really hone in to bring in the traffic?
So the PSK, what if you have 4 different diffusers, bring them all. That's my recommendation. People like to see the variety of diffusers. A PSK and at least the Thieves household cleaner and hand sanitizer. If you don't have all the Thieves products, that's okay. But household cleaner, because we're telling them that's like the key to life, like ditches all the stuff in your house. But if you have more than one diffuser, bring it. Like, and I only put oil in one of them because I don't want to overwhelm a room, but they all have water going and they're all doing their thing because they're like, oh, the owl is so cute. Oh, that aria is amazing. Oh, I really like this one. So that is what draws people attention. And that's where you start your conversations. Yeah. Don't bring everything in your house. Don't do that.
Yeah, and I love the tip that the both of you shared about sort of like going vertical. I had a friend who was like a visual merchandiser, right? Like that was her job in fashion. And she was like, you don't want to just lay things out on a table. Like you want to draw the eyes up. So you guys have all the things that Sherry had talked about, and you can really think outside the box. I've brought cake stands, like little chalkboards, right? Like little, you know, like table stands. You've got baskets. I like those bins that Sherry has. And I think Kathy said she had the same thing. So bring those and sort of, you know, create that sort of vertical space so that it really draws people's eyes in.
I have this really cute, it's by Wilton. It's a plastic 3-tiered cake stand. And so I can put the aria on the bottom because it's the heaviest. And then I would put the lantern on the second and the owl was on the top. So many different ways to do it. I don't have a picture of that one for you, but I always mix it up. Bring products you think your crowd is going to be interested in. If you are at a school craft fair, bring kids things. Bring feather because you know it's going to be the parents and their kids coming to that school craft fair. Really bring products to them to fit the market you're at. I don't really sell products. I don't sell individual bottles of oil personally. But the necklaces, sometimes I do. I do have the flowers to sell on a separate table. Kathy, do you sell bottles of oil separately?
I didn't before the one I had at the salon. I went ahead and took a few basics. I took like some lemon and I think lime, and just to have.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I that's not my preference or my focus really. I was just kind of getting back into it and testing.
Sure.
And I really, for that demographic that was there, they were all about emotions.
Oh, good. Yeah.
All about emotions. And so it just, you know, it just changes, but I always take the premium starter kit and a bunch of diffusers as well. And I only have one with oil, so they don't compete.
Right.
Or over smell, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're similar in that way. And you know, when we were talking about contact information and everything, this is in the long game. This whole environment is a business of relationships. It's, you know, our relationships amongst each other, our relationships that we're going to have in the community, the relationships that we're going to build with our prospective customers. And to keep up with the relationships, it's just relationship. Yeah. And being trustworthy, honest, kind. And when they know, like, and trust you, then we can make recommendations, and then it just
Right.
builds and builds and builds and builds. And I've had the same experience too, with the persons that finally after 2 years. And so we're planting seeds all along the way. So then it all
Exactly.
starts to cultivate eventually, but you're usually, so that's what makes it difficult, or, you know, kind of fills a person with some doubt maybe at the beginning that what am I doing wrong? Well, it's you're not. It's
Right.
what we've all done, grown through, lived
Yeah.
through, and it's good. It's all good.
And, you know, I just wanted to touch back again about having bottles of oil to sell. It's not that it's wrong to do it, but for me personally, why would they want to create a Young Living account if they know I'm just going to have a separate bottle of oil for them? You know, I want them to become a member so they can see the entire realm of products that we have. We're more than a
Mhm.
bottle of lavender or a bottle of Thieves or the household cleaner. So that's why I only sell the bottles with the packet, so that if they want it, then they can create an account and order their own bottle. So for me personally, there's really no value, and I'd rather have them create an account and order that bottle of oil and ship it to their house, because now they have their own Young Living account. But that's my personal
Yes.
preference for that.
Yeah. I agree.
All
Is
right.
there
And
any more questions, ladies? Any more questions?
I was just going to add one more thing that I think is really important for everyone to hear, and just kind of like giving sort of like showing a comparison, right? So consistency is really key, because this is the long game. You know how we say, like on social media, show up on social media, show up every day, always be sharing something, right? So this is no different, right? Being consistent with the vendor events. And, you know, like Sherry had said earlier, you can be consistent for a season, as far as when you're showing up at the vendor events, right? Like maybe it's every week or whatever sort of that scheduling looks like, but that you're also being consistent in the follow-up, right? It's not like collecting all the prospect contact information and then waiting a few months, right? I don't want to bother them, right? I don't think I should get back to them right away. If you didn't already know this, like the first 24 hours of you getting a contact, that is the hottest time to be following up with them. So just like you would with social media, right? Like you want to do that immediate follow-up within the first few hours. Then you want to be consistent in the follow-up thereafter. But just like you might show your face, right, in a story on Instagram, you want to show your face at a vendor event very regularly, because like, you know, Sherry is like the Young Living essential oils person at her farmers market. I know Kathy is gearing up to become the essential oils person for these community events that are going to be happening down in San Diego. So, you know, when you're that consistent contact, they know, right? They may not show up one week or the second week, but they'll show up at some point and they'll know you, see your face, have that recognition, go, I want to go with her. So the consistency is really, really key. And Sherry had said something early on where she was like, the business chose me. I didn't know what I was doing. I just decided to do a vendor event, and she committed for like a whole season, which is amazing, Sherry. Like that's like true dedication right there. And I know Kathy's committing to like a season, right, with the San Diego, this community association she's going to be working with. But, you know, having that commitment for a season, it's sort of like you gotta post on social media no matter what, right? Because people are expecting you to be there. So I just think that is kudos to you ladies. That's why you're successful with vendor events, is because you've got that consistency, you committed, you're showing up, you're doing the follow-up. I think those are all really important things to be doing.
Thank you.
Love it. Do you guys have other questions for our ladies tonight? This was so fabulous. I think that might be it.
Yeah.
I am so grateful to both of you, because we get questions about vendor events all the time. And I'm always referring to the vendor event video. I think Sherry, it was you and Stacy who did it like 3 or 4 years ago.
I think it was longer than that.
I think so. I was like, we need an update. We need the 2022 version, post-COVID version.
Yes.
So I hope you all learned a lot. Sherry, I'll let you close out, but thank you so much to the both of you for sharing. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And don't hesitate to reach out to me or Kathy. We're in Gather and Dwell if you're part of the team already. So reach out. We're here if you have any questions. And just use the technology you have, use the supplies you have. Don't go out and spend a lot of money to make the vendor event work. Use what you have and make that work. All right. Good luck, everybody. Have fun with them. Just have fun. That's
Have
what
fun.
it's about. Have a good
Yes.
evening, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Thanks,
Bye. Thank you.
everybody.